Some people command respect effortlessly. They don't raise their voices, they don't fight for attention. They don't need to prove anything. Yet when they enter a space, something shifts. People notice. People listen. Japanese culture has cultivated this kind of presence for centuries. The foundation begins earlier than you'd think, with training that rewires the body itself. Around age 15, in quiet streets like Gion in Kyoto, some girls begin a strange transformation. Not strange in a bad way. Strange because what they learn now will stay in their bodies for the next 60 years. The training starts with posture. They tie obi belts around the waist, tight enough that slouching becomes physically impossible. The spine learns one position, upright, always. Then comes the walking. They call it suriashi. You slide your feet instead of lifting them. The speed stays controlled, no rushing, no stomping. Each step requires focus and deliberate placement. Breathing gets attention too. Deep, steady, controlled. When your breath is calm, your heart rate follows. They practice this daily, the same way athletes train their lungs. The goal is complete respiratory control under any circumstance. Beyond breathing, dance practice eats up hours. So does tea ceremony and calligraphy. Every movement gets repeated until the muscles remember without thinking. That's the goal. Make it automatic. What happens decades later? Women in their 60s and 70s still move with that same steadiness. The training carved itself into their bones. Unnecessary tension disappears when you practice control this much. And that physical discipline creates something else, a presence, the kind that walks into a room and changes the energy without saying a word. Yet there's something even more powerful than movement itself. It's what happens in the spaces between words. Silence makes most people uncomfortable. Dead air in conversation feels like failure in Western culture. You're supposed to fill the gap. Japan flips that script entirely. Conversational pauses in Japan average 1 to 2 seconds. In Western countries, less than 1 second. That extra second creates weight. It gives words time to land before the next ones arrive. The brain processes meaning more deeply during those pauses. In Japan, interrupting signals terrible self-control. Older Japanese women almost never interrupt. They wait, they listen, then they respond. Instead of speaking, there's this nodding thing called aizuchi, small head movements that show you're paying attention, no words needed. The speaker feels heard without being cut off. And the weird part is, quiet responses actually reduce arguments. When you don't raise your voice, the other person has nothing to push against. Take away one side of the volume war, and the fight deflates. Beyond that, words that follow silence hit differently. They feel more intentional. Cultural surveys in Japan connect calm voices with trustworthiness. Makes sense, right? Their steady, unhurried way of speaking gets labeled as wisdom. Not because they say profound things every time, but because the delivery makes people stop and actually listen. This whole approach signals emotional maturity. My words can wait until the moment is right, but silence alone isn't enough. There's another layer to this, one that reads what words never say. Japan runs on implied meaning, high context communication, the academics call it. Most of the message hides between the words, not in them. Geisha get trained to catch those hidden signals, micro-expressions, the tiniest shift in tone, how someone's eyelids move when they're uncomfortable, breath speed changes when stress kicks in. Even posture shifts reveal internal emotional states. This isn't mind reading, it's pattern recognition on overdrive. In practice, they watch customers during games and conversations. Someone's bored? They notice. Someone's stressed? They adjust. Someone's feeling insecure? They create space without announcing it. The goal is preventing discomfort before it escalates further. These skills prevent social discomfort before it starts. In Japan, reading the room correctly matters more than speaking accurately. Then there's daily life application. Older women keep conversations smooth without forcing them. They sense when someone needs encouragement versus when they need silence. They maintain harmony, what Japanese culture calls wa. As a result, emotional sensitivity increases social influence. When you can sense what someone needs before they ask, you become valuable in social spaces. But here's what's interesting. This skill doesn't just help them understand others, it helps them control their own responses. Because when you can read a room, you know exactly when your words will have the most impact. And knowing the perfect moment, that transforms everything. Impulsive speech lands flat. You blurt something out mid-tension, and it makes things worse. Geisha learned to wait until the emotional tone stabilizes. Speaking during chaos is like throwing a ball at a moving target. But wait for the calm moment. Your words stick. They penetrate deeper and create lasting impact in memory. Traditional tea ceremony drills this into muscle memory. Every step gets timed. When to serve tea, when to bow, when to respond. Each action has its moment. And that moment is exact. Over time, this timing habit bleeds into regular conversation. Women raised in traditional environments speak in measured rhythms. Their words arrive when they'll be heard best. They understand the power of strategic delays. Well, here's why it works. Messages delivered during calm moments get remembered longer. When someone's relaxed, their brain processes information better. When they're tense, your words bounce off like rubber. On top of that, timed communication also reduces conflict. Reacting to tension creates more tension. Waiting for calm creates space for resolution. This approach signals confidence. I'm not controlled by the moment. I control when I engage with it. But words are only half the conversation. The body speaks its own language entirely. Hand gestures get rehearsed thousands of times. Turns, bows, the angle of a wrist during the tea ceremony. Every detail matters. Slow movements send a message. They say, I'm calm. I'm in control. Fast, jerky movements do the opposite. They make people around you tense up without knowing why. Rush gestures trigger instinctive alarm responses in observers. In practice, the tea ceremony demands exact hand angles. Dance training focuses on micro movements in wrists and elbows. Footwork emphasizes stability, not speed. Every motion follows a predetermined path with deliberate intention. Let's not forget biology here. Our brains interpret sudden movement as potential threat. Slow, steady gestures bypass that alarm system entirely. Decades later, older Japanese women often retain these refined movements. Not because they're trying to impress anyone, because it's automatic now. As a result, people instinctively trust individuals with slow, steady gestures. Calm, physical presence reads as competence, as confidence, as someone who won't crack under pressure. Physical control becomes visible evidence of inner strength. You can't fake it, not long term. Yet beneath all these visible skills lies something that holds everything together across a lifetime. Traditional geisha culture runs on 3 pillars: care for craft, care for others, care for self. Drop one and the whole thing collapses. Respect gets earned through hospitality, what they call omotenashi. But here's the catch. You deliver it without expecting praise. Because excellence is the baseline, quality service becomes automatic. Rather than performance-based attention-seeking, women raised in the system learn to maintain boundaries, politely, firmly, without aggression. At the same time, personal grooming gets treated as self-respect, not vanity. It's a signal that you value your own presence. Then there's consistency. Behavior patterns maintained over decades build trust. When people know what to expect from you year after year, they rely on you. Because reliability is rare, predictability creates safety in relationships. Beyond behavior, emotional restraint gets misread sometimes. Western eyes see it as repression. Japanese culture sees it as strength. The ability to feel something intensely without letting it control your actions, that's power. Politeness doesn't equal weakness either. Assertiveness can be delivered calmly. Calm. Assertiveness hits harder because it doesn't invite counterattack. And the age factor. Western culture treats aging like decline. Japanese culture treats it like mastery. Older women often hold leadership roles because they've accumulated decades of experience. In the end, this combination creates something: discipline, emotional skill, self-respect, all layered together over a lifetime. That's the mindset. just consistent application of principles that compound over time. And when you see a 70-year-old Japanese woman command a room without raising her voice, you're seeing the result of 55 years of this code in action.